Now, you could probably tell from the intro, in this video, we'll be looking at Army marksmanship fails. Basically, the Army's inability to teach the fundamentals of marksmanship. We're going to hit a lot of pistol in this video, but we're also going to touch on some rifle training. It's 2025, and the Army cannot teach how to properly grip and hold a pistol, even though pistols have been part of the Army since the Army's creation. It just baffles me. And if you look at this photo right here, this is a Army Sergeant Major, I believe, from a few years ago. This photo made the rounds on the internet, basically blasting this Sergeant Major for having zero clue on how to grip and hold a handgun. And this is a senior leader, and now he's going to pass on this knowledge to the troops when he has no knowledge of how to properly grip and hold a pistol himself. And that's a huge problem in the Army. So we're going to get into it with this video. This is training fails number 2, and we're going to look at pistol and rifle marksmanship. Really just buffoonery. All right, let's do it. Now, before we look at some video clips of some just horrible, dismal grips and shooting stances, I want to point out I'm not here to make fun of the actual soldiers in these clips. It's not their fault. They received poor training. Some of them, you can tell, very little training. I know how the regular Army operates. I spent 7 years in the regular Army. Granted, it was years ago, but not a lot has changed. And I guarantee you, if you watch some of these full videos, they're getting a class on how to shoot a pistol about 20 minutes before they're going to actually start doing live fire. So they're getting very minimal training, almost no training at all. And it's really a shame. And I know what some people might be thinking, well, Jeff, the Army doesn't really fight with pistols a whole lot. There's very few issued to a platoon. But that's no excuse. If you're issued a weapon, you ought to be properly trained to use that weapon. Just because there's a little chance or a little likelihood of actually employing that weapon is no excuse for poor training or lack of training with that weapon system. But for some reason, it escapes the Army. I served 26 years in the Army. Now, granted, 19 was with Special Forces, and that's where I learned how to shoot a pistol. And in SF, they do an awesome job of showing you how to run and gun with a pistol. But I can tell you, every time we worked with the regular Army and we did some pistol ranges, we would basically have to teach classes on how to properly grip and hold a pistol. It completely escapes the regular Army and how to do it. And I'll talk probably a little bit more why I think so here in a little bit, but let's look at some clips. All right, notice zero support hand grip, and that's why it's kicking like a magnum in his hand. Zero grip on that gun whatsoever. And watch this guy. He's going to grab that pistol like it's a muffin. This zero pistol grip on there. He's going to chamber and watch. He flags or muzzles his own hand with a hot pistol. And I'm going to replay it right here. Fingertips right across that muzzle when he's going around in the chamber. And you can see some more dismal grips. And that's why these guns, they're only 9mm, but they're going to kick like they're shooting magnums because they have zero support hand grip or their thumbs are too low. Look at their stance. Their feet are parallel, and that guy's actually leaning back slightly. That's a zero stance right there. I don't know what that is, but when your feet are parallel, you can't control recoil. And again, you're going to see lots of very low grips, and you're going to see the firing thumb really underneath the support hand thumb, and it really should be the other way around. Your support hand thumb should be underneath your firing hand thumb. Watch this recoil right here, zero grip. And that's why it's kicking like a magnum and not a 9mm. Not too bad right here, but again, those thumbs are super low. Here's a good old finger across the trigger guard. And again, look at that recoil because he has zero support hand grip. Again, look at the thumbs, zero grip on that gun. Very low grip right there. And I'll talk about low, grabbing the pistol low as opposed to high on the receiver. This guy is actually not too bad. Look at how he controls that recoil because he's got a decent grip. Gun's barely jumping. But it's not like the Army does not have a point of reference for a proper grip. If you look at this photo right here, it is straight out of the Army pistol training manual. It's not, I would say, the best illustration of a grip, but it does show where the thumbs need to be, your firing hand thumb on top of your support hand thumb, and a grip that kind of fills in the receiver of the gun. They call it filling the gap. So it's not like they don't have a point of reference to see what a proper grip is. And then when they're out on the firing line, look at these soldiers' grips and be like, hey, that's a dismal grip. Why don't we fix it? But that's not happening. All right, let's look at some more clips right here. All right, now watch this guy. He has some light strikes going on with this gun, so there's an issue with the gun. It is light striking, but watch, he's going to finally clear it, and then he's going to reload, and watch, he's going to fail to chamber, and he's going to try and shoot. And nothing, watch. Because he never chambered. Bare minimum skill with that handgun right there. All right, look at this excessive leaning back. That's no way to control a gun. I don't even know what's going on here. He wants to eat that rear slide. He's holding it so close to his face. And again, probably one of the worst grips. Again, it it's poor shooting, and they receive poor training. It's not their fault. It's their leadership's fault. Again, very low grip. Low grips all the way around, creating a pivot point, and that muzzle will climb when you're gripping the receiver that low. And look at not filling in the gap, low thumbs. Finger on trigger guard again. And again, I'm not here to poke fun at these soldiers in the clips. It's not their fault. It's their leadership's fault for not showing them how to properly grip and hold a gun. And I guarantee you, in a lot of those range videos, I bet you they're getting a 20-minute, 30-minute class prior to going into live fire. They're qualifying, and then they're like, okay, you're good to go. You'll shoot again a year from now. And that is just shameful. 2025, and they still can't show how to properly grip and hold a pistol. And it would be super easy of me. I could pull up clips from 10 years ago when they're rocking the Beretta M9, and the grip and stances are no better. This is one thing that completely escapes the Army, how to hold a grip of pistol. I don't know why, especially in the modern era of the internet. If I was an NCO and I was like, hey, you've been tasked around a pistol range, I might want to turn on the YouTube and look at the thousands of videos out there on pistol shooting. It's not like there's an immediate source of information at your fingertips. So yeah, it's the leadership's fault that they're not really researching, and they're letting these soldiers down. Now, what kind of former non-commissioned officer would I be if I only talked about problems and did not offer a solution? So let's check out pistol grip and stance. Let's focus on the grip first. You're going to grip the gun as high as you can into the beaver tail or whatever semi-automatic you're running. Then the inside joints of your knuckles are going to touch your outside knuckles, and it's going to wrap in, filling the gap in the grip right here. Firing hand thumb on top of your support hand thumb. Now, I do kind of an isosceles when I shoot. I do drop my head a little bit. Some will critique that, but it's just how I shoot. But if you notice, I'm kind of in an isosceles. I'm not doing a lot of push-pulling. That creates muscle tension. But I would say 60% of my grip is going to be with my support hand to hold that gun in place for the recoil. Now, can you fight recoil? Well, the idea is not to try and fight it, but redirect it. You want to change it from going up to coming straight back. That way you can track your sights or track your dot. Now, let's look at stance. I'm a righty, so I favor my left foot forward. I'm a tall guy, so I probably have a wider stance than most shooters. My back is generally straight. Again, my chest is only slightly bladed because I'm picking up an isosceles, but my rear foot is that outrigger foot, and that's what I'm using to absorb recoil when I shoot. And no more threats. I go a little muzzle down, a threat presents, and I'm right here. That full, nice, tight grip. All right, this video is not just going to be limited to pistol shooting. It still escapes the Army on how to stand and hold a rifle. Now, I did a video on the dismal shooting stance that the Army keeps using, the tactical turtle, about 3 years ago. Has anything changed? Well, in some units, no. And actually, I found this video clip I'm going to talk about here from a National Guard Facebook page. And actually, some of their videos are pretty good. But in this video, you'll see, and they're showing the different shooting stances, they're going to be doing the tactical turtle, which is leaning excessively forward, putting the weight passed over your hips. Your feet are completely parallel. And the problem is with that stance is it takes muscle tension to lean forward like that. And it puts all the strain on your lower back, and feet parallel does not control recoil at all. And I'll get into some of the excuses that people talk about why they do the tactical turtle, but let's play the clip so you can see what I'm talking about. There it is, excessively bending forward, with the idea to control recoil. And that's just not the case. And we'll see it a few times. Feet parallel. See how he drops his butt? You would not fist fight somebody that way. So why would you stand that way holding a rifle? Well, I know the excuses, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But the theory behind it is, again, if you lean forward, you can control that recoil, and you're keeping your plates to the front. That's another big excuse and why the tactical turtle is so popular. Both those theories are very flawed. So first of all, again, if your feet are parallel, you're super easy to tip over. You need to be in a true fighting stance. You wouldn't box somebody that way, leaning forward. You look pretty silly. And I'll talk about the whole plates to the front fallacy here in a second. But with that shooting stance, you notice they only do it with the M4. If you look at this picture of this guy holding the M249 squad automatic weapon, his back is completely straight and his legs are probably spread out to support the weight and the recoil of standing and firing that squad automatic weapon. And if we look at these clips right here, let me back it up. Shooting the M7, it's a 13-pound gun with that optic. And you notice, to control recoil, the back is straight, and with each shot, he's going to open up his stance more and more to be able to absorb that recoil. He wiggles his feet out. See, he's getting more into a natural shooting stance. His back is straight. So they get by with that whole tactical turtle because of the M4 being such a lightweight rifle with a relatively little recoil. But again, it takes muscle tension to hold it that way. You're not going to get your best marksmanship capability out of that stance, and that's why I'm so adamant against it. So let's take up what the Army deems as a proper shooting stance, and that is going to be feet parallel to the threat, plate front to the threat. You're going to mount the rifle and you're going to drop your butt and lean forward to absorb that recoil. And this is putting all the strain on my lower back. One of the arguments is going to be, well, put your plate to the front. We'll talk about that here in a second. But let me ask you this. If you were going to get in a fist fight, would you drop your butt, feet parallel, and stand like that? No, it's completely silly and you're not going to do well. You would take up a fighting stance, shoulders generally square. You'd spread your feet out to distribute that weight and be able to do fast moving. So that's what we are looking for with our rifle stance. I'm a lefty with a rifle. My torso is going to be slightly bladed to facilitate mounting the rifle. I go a super wide stance to absorb that recoil. And I would say 75% of holding the gun is with the support hand, pulling it into my shoulder. My back is generally straight. I am slightly bladed because I'm facilitating the fastest and most accurate shooting I can do. Here I can really rock and drive that rifle. Now, people will say, hey, plates to the front. Well, that is complete drivel, and it briefs well and it sounds good. Hey, plates to the front, your plate will take the shot and you will survive. Well, the fallacy with that is, one, you're assuming you're not going to be moving and the threat's not going to be moving. Watch any CQB video, and what's the Army natural thing to do? Cross the threshold and immediately turn left or right to clear your corner. So your plate's not to the front anyways. And saying plates to the front, it assumes that the threat is going to be perfectly across from you. It assumes the threat's not going to be moving, changing angles. And it assumes you're not going to be moving. And it assumes you're only fighting one person. So again, there's a lot of assumptions there. I would not want to rely on this 8x10 plate trying to save my life. I'd rather rely on using a stance and grip and the fundamentals to be able to shoot as fast and accurately as I can so I can shoot the threat prior to the threat shooting me. And that should be the goal. Why rely on this plate? Body armor doesn't keep you from being shot. It helps you survive being shot. And the whole plates to the front thing, well, if it was going to work, you would have to stand like this. Once you mount the gun, you got nothing but arms and shoulders. I know one guy who took rounds through his hands and bicep, because again, you're going to be like this through the doorway, so you're going to get wounded regardless. So again, the key should be focusing on shooting the threat first and not relying on this and squaring up. It's completely silly. Again, too many assumptions that you're just going to be squared off perfectly with the threat, and neither one of you are moving. So let's adopt a stance that, again, allows fast and accurate fire. Now, real quick, I want to mention the optic on this rifle you're seeing in this video, and this is from Dynamic Optronic Technologies, or DOT, and is their enhanced holographic sight, or their EHS-1. It's basically an alternative to an EOTech. And one thing that distinguishes this optic is it's built from the get-go as a high mount optic. There's no riser. This is the height that the optic comes in at 2.3, so your standard high mount style height. It has 0.5 minute of angle adjustments with a 1 minute of angle center dot and a 65 minute of angle EOTech style circle around it. I've actually had this for about 6 months. They've lent it to me to do a review. Honestly, I just haven't gotten to a full review yet since I've been playing with this. YouTube is a side gig, and my full-time job has really just limited my range time the last few months. But I do owe the folks at DOT a full review on this optic, but I wanted to mention it here real quick in this video. Now, this retails for $599.95, which is a little bit cheaper than an EOTech, and probably something to consider if you are rocking high mounts. Well, then you don't have to get an EOTech and then purchase a high mount on top of it, as again, this comes in at your 2.3 inch height. So it's a high mount optic from the get-go. But again, I want to mention it here. I will do a full review on it here sometime in the future. You can find out more information on it at dottronics.com. Now, to be realistic, standing and shooting actually plays a very small part in an infantryman's job. If they're doing it correctly, they should be shooting from cover, shooting off stuff like logs and barricades and getting down low. Standing and shooting really only applies when you're doing room clearing. So it actually plays a very small part, again, in an infantry's job and skill set, but they ought to know how to do it properly. And I think as more and more soldiers get issued the M7, they're going to find that tactical turtle does not work. They get by with it because the M4 is so light and the recoil is very mild. But once you use a heavier weapon system, your back has to be straight. You got to spread those legs out to support the weight and the recoil. So as more soldiers get the M7, we're going to see that tactical turtle stance fade away anyways, because it's not going to work with the M7 as you saw. So I will do more training fails video clips in the future. I already have some viewers sending me some CQB clips they want me to comment on. I kind of enjoyed this series. This is the second one. I will do more in the future. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to cover some other topics in some future videos, but this will be a continuing series. If the Army puts it out there, I'm going to critique it. It's fair game. Now, before I go, stick around. I have one little treat for you as soon as I get done speaking. But as always, hopefully you found this video entertaining and informative. I'm Jeff Gerwich, and you're going to enjoy this last one right here.